Hey, what's up, guys? It's Dan from UnitedQ. It's Wednesday, which means we have another awesome podcast to get you over Hump Day. I'm here with my co-host, Ben.
Hello.
And we're brought to you by ProQ, Barbecue Gourmet, Kamado Joe, and Smokewood Shack, our awesome sponsors. ProQ's dedicated to providing you with quality smoking products with top-notch service and free advice to beginners to pit masters. And you can find them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram under ProQ Smokers. So if you think about buying your first smoker, wanting to upgrade, or looking for charcoal cabinet smokers, check them out over at Max Barbecue. Barbecue Gourmet is devoted to promoting real barbecue and supplying the UK and Europe with top championship-winning barbecue rubs, sauces, marinades and accessories in the US and around the world. And you can find them on Twitter and online under Barbecue Gourmet. So regardless of how you cook, whether it's on charcoal, wood, gas or electric, the real taste of barbecue can be yours all year round. And Kamado Joe is renowned for build quality and innovation, from smoking, roasting or searing. Kamado Joe is a premium ceramic grill chosen by Michelin-star chefs and barbecue enthusiasts alike. Get that great barbecue taste and keep the moisture locked in. Check out kamadojoe.co.uk plus Facebook and Twitter. And on today's show we have Turan. Hello.
Hello. Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing very well, thank you. Doing
Great
very well.
Great to have you on. From popular demand, actually, we put out a status asking who people would like to hear from on the show, and your name was one that came up from a few people, so
good.
We're happy to have you on.
Well, I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you very much for asking me. It's always a pleasure to talk about food.
Definitely. That's what we love. Could you give a brief sort of intro sort of about yourself to people, any listeners that don't know can get an understanding of where you're coming from and what you do?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, my name's Turan. Originally from London. I now live in Milton Keynes, and I run Cold Smoking Cookery School, and we're not your ordinary cookery school. We are an artisan cookery school, so we teach skills like food smoking, meat curing and charcuterie, cheese making, etc. We also do quite a lot of sausage making as well, which is one of our very popular courses. We're based in Great Linford in Milton Keynes. We've been running the courses from other venues since 2011, but since 2014, September 2014, we've actually been based in our own cookery school in Great Linford in Milton Keynes. And we operate from there. We also run a little side business called smokedust.co.uk, and that's the business which supports the barbecuing and the food smoking business. And we do meat cures, bacon cures, and all the equipment that you would expect to find for barbecuing and curing meat and making your own bacon and stuff like that.
Cool.
So what got you into smoking in the first place?
I started initially making smoked salmon because my dad was in the food industry all his life. He's been in hotel management and restaurant ownership. And he always used to whinge on about not being able to get really good smoked salmon. So more as an attempt to try and shut him up, really, I had a go at making some smoked salmon. Went through the curing process and the smoking. And to do it, I had to build myself a smoker. So I did all that, and I had a few disasters, and sometimes it was far too salty and a little bit too over smoked. But with time and a bit of effort, I managed to get a really good technique going, which is what I teach people now. But that's kind of how I got into it. So although I wasn't in the food industry with my dad, I was obviously very close to good food and that kind of thing throughout my whole life. So, I mean, my career path took a completely different turn. I ended up initially leaving school and going into engineering. And then I did that for 4 years and then joined the fire service. Did 30 years, just over 30 years in the fire brigade. So being involved in food smoking is in some ways slightly ironic, really.
Yeah, you must have got plenty of experience with smoke then.
Yeah, it used to make my colleagues laugh a little bit when they realised that I was into food smoking. I mean, they used to like the products, don't get me wrong, but they always found time to rib me about, if ever we turned up to a fire, they'd ask me what kind of wood that was.
Yeah. You brought any salmon with you.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's
Strap
right.
some salmon to your uniform and then go in and put the fire out.
If only it was that simple, eh?
It's more hot smoking, really, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's actually quite funny because I do get those comments are made quite a lot by some of my colleagues, and it is quite a funny sort of reference and link, really. But yeah, it's I think she just compared to the smoke and fire, and now I'm kind of it.
So when did it sort of move from like a hobby to then this is what you do now, and what sort of made that change for you?
Well, we started. Obviously, I had an inherent interest in it, and I ended up drawing some plans for this smoker that I built. Because a friend of mine at work said, I'm looking for a really interesting present for my dad, and I haven't got a clue what to get him. And he knew that I'd built a smoker, and he said, have you got the drawings for it? Because I think they'd make a really nice present for him, because he's into woodwork and stuff. So I spent a week drawing the drawings onto a PDF, and I emailed it to him. He was really happy with it, and he said, you should put these on the internet. So that's what I ended up doing. I put them on the internet. I bought the web domain coldsmoking.co.uk and put them up on the website for sale for $1.99. So it wasn't like I was, going to break the bank selling them. But we sold over 2,000 copies of those plans, and that's kind of where it started, because I got a call about 6 months after I put them up on the website. I got a call from an organisation called the Low Impact Living Initiative, Lily for short, and a guy called Dave Darby, who runs it. He was looking for a tutor to run a food smoking course for them, and up until that, actually run anything courses, and he asked me if I would be willing to do that, and I said yes, and it's kind of it went from there, really. So it was a hobby as such, and it was a part-time business, because obviously I was still employed by the fire service up until 2014. So it really transited from a part-time business into a full-time business in May 2014 when I retired. But the first sort of 6 months of my retirement were taken up with actually writing my second book, which was Food Smoking, Curing and Drying.
Amazing. So go on, mate.
As I say, you said that's your second book, so you'd already written a first book as well.
Yeah, that's right. So when I'd done a few courses for Dave, we were having a conversation about how it was going and talking about some of the feedback, which was pretty positive, which was pleasing to hear. And he just mentioned in passing that Lily do a series of different books on some of the subjects that they teach. And he asked me if I'd be interested in writing a book on food smoking. So I spent 6 to 9 months writing that book, getting transcripts published. I mean, the good book is full of really useful information, but don't spelling and design, it really didn't have too much of that. But nevertheless, it's a book available on Amazon now. It's got lots of practical information, and it's also got the drawings that I put on my website for $1.99 in there as well. So if you buy the book, you get the plans for free.
The plans for free.
Yeah, exactly. But it's got lots of basic information in there, a little bit of science, but and technique for making smoked salmon and stuff like that. So, and a lot of other food as well. So it covers quite a wide range of stuff. But it was predominantly focused on food smoking.
Cool.
So the second book was a little bit broader than that. It covered meat curing, charcuterie, drying, and curing and smoking. So it covered a range of different subjects.
Amazing. So the low impact living, is that like sort of small holds and growing your own stuff and I don't know that sort of thing? Is that what? Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. They do a range of different courses. So they'll teach you how to build a straw bale house and teach you how to make solar panels and all exactly. I mean, it does what it says on the tin. It's a low impact living initiative. So they're trying and looking at different ways of passing on information to people about how to live by making less of an impact on the environment. And So one of the key things that they wanted as part of the course was to have a sort of a golden thread running through everything that I did, which was about low impact. And I think the key thing is that, you know, as well as I do, when you do barbecuing, you can, if you've got a pocket full of money, you can go and spend it on barbecue equipment quite easily nowadays.
Yep.
Probably 10 years ago, not so, but nowadays there's such a range of equipment out there that, you know, you can spend a fortune. Now, part of their ethos was to be able to do stuff without having to spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I came up with was a cardboard smoker. So we would literally smoke food in a cardboard box. Basically,
Cool.
if you think about it, if you're cold smoking, you're not adding any temperature to the food. You're just using the smoke, products of the smoke, to give it extra flavour. I mean, historically it was a preserving method, but if you think of it, that you just need a device to keep the smoke in the same place as the food. Cardboard box kind of ticks that box.
Yeah.
And there were a few other things. I did an improvised hot smoker, which was essentially two roasting trays, one on top of the other, held together with bulldog clips. And that worked really nicely as well.
Cool.
So that ticked that brief, basically, for keeping it low impact. But yeah, it was an interesting product, and it was an interesting project working for them, and I still do the same course. When we run a food smoking course, we still use those methods, but we've got a load of other stuff that we've tagged onto it as well.
Yeah, I was chatting to Ty from Max Barbecue Pro Q, and he was saying that you helped put together, they have like a cold smoking pack.
Yes, that's right. I think we do their bacon cures.
Cool. Yeah, he was saying that he's met you and says you're a great guy, and was just chatting away. I said that you were coming on the podcast, and he was excited to listen to the episode.
Yeah, and I can see on your Smoke Dust website that you sell the ProQ CSG like cold smoke generator and their boxes as well.
Yes, that's right. I've had a quite a nice long-term relationship with Max Barbecue. They've been really good, and I'm one of the few people that's allowed to sell their stuff on my website.
Cool.
And we actually sell a lot of their products. And there's only a few things that I actually recommend people buy. I mean, I use a ProQ Frontier smoker, bullet smoker. And I also use the Artisan cold smoke generator and their original cold smoke generator. And also the Eco Smoker as well, which is the small cardboard smoker.
Yeah.
And they're the only products that I recommend, really. I know they do a wider range, but, and I do tell people about that. If they want to go and spend lots of money, they're free to do so. If they want to get a discount, then, use my name. But virtually every smoking course I do, between 6 and 10 people buy those sorts of generators, and I tell people they're probably one of the best ways of securing 8 hours of good smoke, 10 hours depending on the species of wood, with burning 100 grams of dust, which is a really efficient way of smoking food.
And with that selection of things you've just said, I mean, you can pretty much do the whole variety of sort of cold smoking to hot smoking and everything in between, really. So, I mean, it's quite like you said. I mean, those products that you recommend are really enough to do like the whole thing, the whole heart. You could do whatever you wanted really with it, which is cool.
Yeah, we teach the hot smoking techniques as well, but we also teach people that, if they want to go and buy one of these bullet smokers, they're not cheap. They're a bit of an investment, and we like to keep ours in good nick. So I'm constantly washing it and keeping it polished and shiny, which is got something to do with my OCD perhaps. But it's nice because when people see it, a lot of people say, "Oh, have you only just got that?" And I say, "No, it's about 2 years old." So that freaks them out a little bit. But we show them the hot smoking techniques on it, and we tell them also, if you've got one of these, you don't even need a cardboard box, because so long as you take out the charcoal and just put the cold smoke generator in the base, you've got yourself a cold smoker. So the light comes on for a lot of people when they actually see the equipment being used in a certain way. And in a variety of different ways with a variety of different foods. So it's an all-immersive course, so it's a whole day, and there's a lot involved in it. I recommend people don't eat the day before because we do quite a lot of food.
Cool, awesome. So now you're sort of, I know that you were saying that like sort of your first experience smoking and stuff was trying to get the smoked salmon for your dad. And,
yeah.
So I guess that sort of flavour and food was the reason why you got into sort of smoking and curing. But do you see it now? Do you look at it more, or do you look at it at all as a sort of preservation technique, and is that how you teach it, or do you just teach it as a way to change one thing into basically another flavourful, enjoyable food?
I do teach people that it was a preservation method, and I think it's important to know the heritage of where this process came from. And yeah, before we had good quality refrigeration, then that was a means of preserving food, and the curing process that goes before it is also part of that process, because you're essentially lowering the water activity of the fish so that bacteria, can't be supported. Mm-hmm. And then by adding smoke, you're also using the qualities of the smoke, so some of the phenolic compounds in the smoke, which actually have antibacterial, antimicrobial properties. So those are important processes, but I tend to try and teach people that it's more nowadays about adding flavour. Yeah. Those processes are still working, but we're still going to put this stuff in the fridge at the end of the day when it's done. We're not going to leave it hanging out. We may have done that 100 years ago, perhaps, but now it's about, we use smoke now more as a flavour, more as a seasoning. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the kind of angle I come from. But
cool.
I've been doing smoking for a long time, but I was thinking about, before I came on here today, I was thinking, have I done any sort of smoking beforehand? Other than cigarettes, of course. But I remember back when I was a kid, we used to do a lot of barbecue. Obviously, with Dad, we'd barbecue whenever, even if it was raining, we'd barbecue. But some of the things that he used to do, it only really clicked with me the other day that actually we were essentially smoking the food and infusing it with flavours. And we used to use rosemary. Whenever we cooked lamb on a barbecue, we used to put, so we'd have the rack that we're going to put the barbecue lamb with the lamb on. But before we put the lamb down on the grill, we would lay sticks of rosemary on it. Mm-hmm. Sprigs of rosemary on the grill, and then put the lamb on top of it and let it cook through the rosemary. So
such an amazing smell comes off. Fresh herbs on the directly on the. It's an amazing smell.
Absolutely, it's ridiculous, and it only really occurred to me that that's what we were doing when I was consciously thinking about it the other day. But yeah, so in that sense, we've been doing it for years. But using things like whiskey oak or hickory nowadays is more seen more as mainstream barbecue. But everyone, I think most people have got a rosemary bush in their garden, or they know someone with a rosemary bush. And that's a fantastic way if you're doing lamb on a barbecue is excellent with nothing added. Okay, except a little bit of salt and pepper as you're barbecuing. Put rosemary on and smoke it in the way I've just described, and it is absolutely insane. It really does take it to another level.
Yeah, I do a similar thing, just like with a sprig of, not really a sprig, like a stick with all the bay leaves are still attached to it. Just lay down a load of bay leaves and stick that on top, or even like wrap bay leaves like all around it. It's bay leaves is another one that's got that. As soon as you chuck it on the coal, you can just smell it, and it just smells incredible. Yeah,
you do get such an amazing aroma from it. I remember a little while ago, we had a bay tree in our garden, and I did prune quite a hefty branch from it, and rather than throw the wood away, I actually debarked it and turned it into chips and dust. So whenever we were doing any hot smoking, I could demonstrate by throwing some of this wood on the charcoal, the aroma. Nice. And yeah, it's absolutely fantastic.
So, I'm going to just so one of the sort of things that attach to sort of curing and smoking and drying food is sort of safety. A lot of people were sort of scared to get involved. What do you sort of say to that, and what is your way around that, and what sort of remarks do you have on safety for people in approaching smoking, curing and drying food?
Okay, so if you're just going to be smoking a piece of salmon or a piece of fish, there's nothing really too much to worry about. You shouldn't really, certainly for fish, you shouldn't really be using any chemicals other than salt. So the only real danger is that you're going to over-salt it. So if, for instance, you're going to be making smoked salmon, one of the biggest faults people make is they completely bury the salmon in salt and leave it for far too long. And it comes out, yes, it's lost all its weight, but it's taken on an awful lot of salt and it becomes very salty. So the way I overcome that issue is I weigh the salmon and I calculate 10%, sometimes not even 10%, but, you know, between 8 to 10% of the weight of that salmon fillet. I weigh that amount out in salt, and that's the amount of salt that I will sprinkle on the surface of that salmon to cure it. And I'll probably only cure it for about sort of 6 to 8 hours in a fridge, and that's for making dry cured salmon. So
yeah, cool.
Something like Scottish smoked salmon. If you're going to be making something like a kipper, and you were going to be using a herring, and you back filleted it and split it and laid it flat, gave it a clean, removed the gills, and you want to apply some salt to that. You want to cure that before you then cold smoke it. I wouldn't put dry salt on it. I would make up a brine, and then I'd brine the kipper for about 20 minutes. And the brine, I tend to stick to one particular strength of brine, and I tend to go for what's called an 80% brine, which is 80% of the total amount of salt that you can dissolve into a given quantity of water, and it works out 267 grams of salt in a litre of water makes an 80% brine. And if you keep one measure completely static, then you can vary the amount of time that the fish is in that brine to sort of suit your taste for salt, if you like. So a kipper, for instance, in an 80% brine will probably be in there for 20 minutes. Take it out, let it dry, hang it to dry, and then it's ready to smoke. But say something like a cod loin, it's a slightly lighter meat, probably 15 minutes in an 80% brine. And I would tend to give that a rinse before I patted it dry and then smoked it.
See, everything's a lot quicker than what I thought. This is really cool. So what are like the major sort of differences between sort of dry curing and brining something? Like what difference do you expect to, so say if you were to take a kipper and to dry just to cure it, and then you would take another kipper and to brine it, what are the sort of the fundamental differences that you'd expect to yield in the product?
Okay, so it really does depend on what you want as an end product.
Okay.
That depends. So if you're making, say for instance, if you're doing a prosciutto ham, you'll dry salt it. If you're making, because you want a drier product, you want to dry that product. If you were making a Scottish style smoked salmon, you'd dry the salmon with, you'd use dry salt on the salmon because you want to remove some of the moisture. You want to lower the water activity. When you're cooking something, say for instance a kipper, or you're going to be hot smoking a cod loin, then what you want to do is you want to try and retain some moisture, but also give it a salt treatment so that it's safe to cold smoke for a period of time. And the way I choose to do that is I use quite a strong brine, because that gives the surface treatment. It keeps it nice and clean. It gives it additional flavour, and it also cures the outside sufficiently so that it can withstand an extended period in a smoker, where it's, essentially it's going to be at ambient temperature. So you wouldn't ordinarily leave a fresh piece of fish out at that sort of temperature without giving it some pre-treatment before it goes in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, to summarise, it's really dependent whether you dry cure or you wet brine. It depends on the product you want at the end of it, basically.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm already learning loads from you, and just whilst we are learning loads, I just want to touch on the fact that you offer courses and stuff. So if someone wanted to sort of come along and learn a lot more, like what are the courses that you offer, and where can people sort of book onto those?
Well, we teach food smoking, meat curing and charcuterie. We also run a sausage making class as well. We've got visiting tutors who come in and teach cheese making, jams, chutneys and preserves. We also, during the summer, run a kids sausage making class as well. All these courses are available to be booked online. If people go to my website, coldsmoking.co.uk, they can book the courses directly through the website. If they're more happy to give me a call on our phone, the contact details are on the website as well, and they can give me a call and I can take a booking over the phone for them, if that's how they prefer. We are looking in the future, it's more of a long-term aspiration, to put some of the courses online so people can access them online. They'll be able to download content, there'll be videos and supporting materials to assist them in any projects that they're looking to do.
Awesome. And I see on here as well, you offer like gift certificates for courses as well, so could be a nice Christmas present for somebody.
Indeed, yeah. We've been turning over quite a lot of those in the last couple of days. Food smoking gift certificates very popular. Meat curing is also quite popular at this time of year, as is the sausage making as well, which is something that is good fun too. I mean, people come along, they get their hands on the equipment and they actually learn how to make the sausages. There's quite a bit of science that goes into making a good sausage as well. It's not just mix everything together, but there's a specific order that we teach so that you get the correct texture.
Cool.
Of the meat as well. So yeah, it's
really important. I find it
interesting.
really rare that you get a good sausage, and it is like one of those things that when you do have a good sausage, you do take a second and go, wow, that is a great bite. But it is very rare you get a great sausage, I think. Yeah,
I think there are some reasonable sausages out there on the market, but you've got to pay good money for them. And the thing about people coming on the course to learn how to make sausages is, I think there's a fear that all sorts of stuff go into sausages. And, if you come on the sausage making course, the way I teach it, I go from the cuts of meat so people can see the meat going into the mincer. They know what's going into it.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a butcher admit to me once that he puts tongue in his sausages, which for me is a complete no-no. Not because tongue isn't a good meat, it's because when I cook tongue, I peel it. So you can't do that with a raw tongue. So it's not something that you should be putting in sausages, but, I'm sure he's not telling his customers he does that.
We've got a good friend of our show from the company Angus and Oink, and they make a really, really good range of sausages. Dan's used them a lot in doing your trade stand and stuff. So he's been selling those, and they come across so well, don't they? All the customers that have eaten those really love them, don't they? Yeah.
When you get a good sausage, it really is something to behold. I think I did one of my very first sausage making classes that I did about 18 months ago. There was a guy on it who runs a website called The Sausage Review. And it's a group of guys, they just go around sampling different manufacturers' makes of sausages and then rating them on their website.
Good job.
Who says there isn't a website for everyone?
I'll have to check it out in a minute.
Amazing. Yeah. But he actually said he really liked the way that I taught the course, and some of the technique was absolutely spot on. So he even rated the sausages that he had from the course, which was quite nice. Yeah. But yeah, cool. we do like to do the sausage making. It is good fun. But the meat curing and the charcuterie is also something that we really take a keen interest in. And I resurrected some bacon that really took me back to my childhood not so long ago, and I cured some Gloucestershire Old Spot. And any of you know the breed, it's incredibly fatty. But when you cook that really slowly, and probably on the lowest heat you could get in a frying pan, just allow it to melt in the frying pan. No added oil, nothing, no butter, nothing. Just let it go at the lowest temperature. Probably takes about 15 minutes to do 4 rashers, and then they turn them every couple of minutes so that they're getting an even slow cook. The fat literally melts out of it, and you're left with a bacon that I can only remember from when I was a child. It's absolutely amazing. Slightly expensive meat because it's not easy to get hold of. So I think I was paying somewhere in the region of £7.50 a kilo, which is quite expensive for belly pork, but given it was Gloucester Old Spot. And a lot of people say, well, that's about 90% fat, that cut. But actually, it is 100% flavour, and it's something that I would recommend to people to do if they ever get the opportunity, and if they've got a local supplier as well. So, yeah, it was a real great experience.
We were only chatting to John Gower from Quiet Waters Farm the other week, and we were saying about how once you've given homemade bacon a go, how you just it makes you relive and realise that the bacon that we're buying from supermarkets or were buying from supermarkets isn't bacon. It's just not right. And and the stuff that you can make at home, and I think that obviously I'm in no way in a league of making bacon of such of like you guys, like you and probably John and people like that. But even the bacon that I make, I find is like just a completely different league to what you can buy in a supermarket, and I just think that it cooks. So I mean, when you put some supermarket bacon into a frying pan, the water that comes, I mean, your frying pan fills with water. When you fry some bacon you made at home, you don't. There's no water comes out.
Boiling your bacon.
It's a completely different product. It's like a completely different thing, and I just think that it's super easy to do at a basic level, like I do. But obviously, I mean, there's loads of techniques and stuff that you can develop, I guess, and flavour profiles you can play with, and different smokes and length of smoking periods and stuff like that sort of will take it to the next level. But for the average person to start doing at home, it's such an easy thing to do. And the product that you yield is just absolutely phenomenal, I think.
I see on your website they've got like different flavoured cures as well. So you've got like a juniper and pepper bacon cure.
That's right, yeah. We also do a licorice one. It's out of stock at the moment. I get to make some more, which licorice used to be used in the old days as a natural sweetener, and it's a different take on a sweet cure bacon. We don't use enough licorice to give it any colour. So what I tend to do whenever I use a licorice, I tend to add a little bit of treacle with it as well.
Oh, nice.
Just to give it some colour. But the basics, I mean, you talk about, bacon, making your own bacon being, it is a complete one-way street. Once you've made your own bacon, it would be an anathema to walk into a supermarket and buy bacon.
Yeah.
Because it's just not the same product.
Two different things.
Bacon, yeah, absolutely. So the bacon you buy in a supermarket is generally speaking injection brined, and as it's sliced and packed, it's still curing. So you're buying it with an awful lot of moisture in it. So, and obviously because they're looking at their profit margins and their yield, and that is a major factor in the way that they present it to you in those packets. So that's not your concern when you make bacon. Your concern is that you sourced the right meat, that you've cured it the right way, and then you cook it the right way, and it comes out lovely. So for me, they are two completely different products and shouldn't be mistaken.
Yeah,
and
they shouldn't be called different names. They shouldn't even be allowed to call it bacon, I don't think, personally.
Indeed, yeah, I think that would be a great way of distinguishing between the two. There should be a DOP for bacon, shouldn't there, really?
I think Warrisons and Wesco's are going to try and shut us down for this, but we don't care. Revolution. Bacon revolution, starting now. Hashtag bacon revolution, guys. Get it trending.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing about making bacon is that a lot of people tend to go on the internet to look for recipes, and you look at 100 different websites and you'll get 100 different recipes. I teach a technique which is generally accepted as being commercial accepted, low volume sort of producers method, which is really, really simple. We don't like to complicate things. We like to keep it simple. So it's really just salt, a little bit of preservative, sodium nitrite, generally speaking, or Prague 1. If you want to use Prague 1, we use very, very specific measures, and we try and keep everything as simple as possible. We tend not to brine our bacon. We like to dry salt it, so we tend to do that inside vacuum bags and keep everything nice and easy to work with in the fridge. Because a lot of people, working with domestic fridges, it's you don't want to have open meat in the fridge.
No.
It's nice to have it nice and sort of separate. So we tend to do things in vacuum bags, keep it nice and simple, so that it's easy to replicate and people can continue on making their own bacon time and time again, smoking it the way they want to smoke it, without any aggro at all.
Yeah.
Once people realise that it's as easy as it is, then I've had people go out and buy themselves slicers and all sorts of things because they've got they've really got into it, and it's something that they wanted to carry on doing for a long time.
See, that's my problem. I don't have a slicer. My slicing skills weren't quite up to scratch, so I had really
had some nice thick bits from you.
Yeah, some thick bits and weird shaped bits and all sorts, but it was all lush, so I don't really mind.
Well, one of the big problems when you're slicing bacon on a slicer is that you tend to get fat drag. So for some people,
that's what happens when I walk.
It can be a bit of a problem when you're slicing lots of slices. So we tend to par freeze our bacon before we slice it,
cool.
so that it's really cold and it slices nice and neatly. But the other thing is if you do have quite fatty bacon, sometimes it is actually easier to cut it by hand. You get a nice chunky slice as well then. So
yeah, I'm thinking I need to invest in maybe some Irish hen slicers or something, and that's just an excuse to buy something else, I suppose. But anyway, do you find the vacuum? You're saying you vacuum seal it for sort of contamination purposes and to just keep things clean. Do you find that speeds up the process of curing, or does it not matter? Does it just a way of keeping it sealed in, I guess?
I think it does speed it up a little bit, but it keeps the salt solution in, and I say solution because as soon as you put dry salt on bacon, it starts to draw out moisture. But if you have that in a bag, it just keeps it in close proximity. Mm-hmm. And if you overhaul it every day, and by that I mean just taking it out the fridge, shuffling it around in your hand, making sure all the cure's moved over the whole surface, and then just plonking it back down in the fridge again. So I call that overhauling. Mm-hmm. It's a term they use in America, and that's good for us. But if you do that every day while it's curing, I generally recommend 1 day per ½ inch of thickness plus 2 days. So for the average sort of 2.5 inch thick piece of back bacon, I'd say roughly a week.
Cool.
In the cure.
Cool.
Overhaul it every day so it gets duffed up 7 times before you actually take it out. But yeah, we put it in vacuum bags. We don't use a fancy vacuum sealer either. We tend to try and use stuff that people can get hold of. So again, when people see it being done with the equipment that we use, they can go away and do it.
It's accessible for them. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So we use something called a Jml Foodsaver, which I think you can pick up for around about 50 quid. Comes with a couple of rolls of vacuum bags. Cool. But we also sell the vacuum bags on our website as well.
There was one that's all over the forums. It was in Lidl for sale over the special promotion over the weekend, down to 24 quid or something from 50 quid. I can't say if it was any good or not, but that was quite a cheap one to pick up, and a lot of people seem to have grabbed one and saying that they were okay. So maybe have a look out for that promotion if you were around and want to pick something up to give it a try.
That's a great idea, yeah. And I do, whenever people come on my courses, I always try and find out when salmon's on special at the supermarkets, because they all tend to run the promotions at the same time.
Yeah.
So you'll find certainly in the UK, in the run up to Christmas, we've now got. I think it's running from the 16th, so it's tomorrow. There's a promotion, half price for whole salmon.
Wow.
In most of the UK supermarkets.
Yeah.
So if you want to make
Cool.
yourself some smoked salmon in the run up to Christmas, now is the time to get out there and
do
buy
it.
Yeah.
Cool, awesome. You mentioned that you like to use like a dry cure for bacon, and when as soon as you put like that dry cure on, it tends to turn to a wet cure pretty quickly. So what is the difference? So I'm talking in terms of like sort of the sweet flavour that you use. So if you use sugar of some sort, whether that be demerara or whatever, brown sugar, white sugar, then that's your dry cure. But if you were to use sort of another sweetener like honey or maple syrup or treacle or whatever, how do you find that? I'm trying to think of the best way to word the question. Like, does that affect the cure, or does it not make much of a difference, or why do you tend to use the sort of dry ingredients rather than a wet ingredient in that sense?
Okay, I'd use a dry ingredient because it's cheaper, generally speaking. So for instance, demerara sugar is not that cheap, to be fair, but certainly granulated sugar is reasonably cheap.
Yeah.
So you can use that as a sweetener. But if you want to add a slightly bit more interesting flavour, you can use demerara sugar or muscovado sugar as well. They really add some interesting flavour profiles to the bacon. But if you want to use a wet cure, also a wet sweetener, for instance, say treacle or maple syrup or honey, then that's absolutely fine. You can use that, but I tend to use slightly less of it because it goes a bit further. So, for instance, for a 2 kilo piece of back bacon, for instance, I would use probably 2 tablespoons of treacle.
Cool.
And that would be the same with maple syrup or honey, etc.
And when buying maple syrup, guys, make sure and buy 100% maple syrup, not maple flavoured something or other.
Absolutely.
So keep an eye out, guys, because it's they try and fool you in every way imaginable these days. So make sure you're buying
10% maple.
Yeah, 10% maple, and then the rest is like maple flavourings of some sort.
Yeah, you know which one it is because it's the one that's probably more expensive.
Triple the price.
You wouldn't want to buy. Yeah,
it's the one that's not £2, it's £9.
Yeah,
but you get what you pay for.
No, exactly. You also mentioned that you were thinking about or talking about or in the process of organising sort of butchery courses and stuff.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, we've been talking to some farm shop owners over the last few months, and because it's something that we're interested in, and it's an artisan process, and I think people are more interested. There's more and more people now who are thinking of keeping their own livestock and sending it off to be slaughtered, and then they get a carcass and want to know what to do with it. So we are looking at putting on a course which is going to sort of focus mainly on butchery for, say, half a pig carcass or maybe even a lamb carcass, and then just doing some traditional cuts.
Yeah.
And just showing people how to process the carcass so that they can then either go ahead and freeze it or make bacon with it if it's a pig indeed, or if we may even want to make some prosciutto with it as well. So.
Cool. So on that course, will you break down, like you said, like half an animal, and will you teach them like how to use sort of like nose to tail and sort of how to use everything, or how they could use everything in some sort of way? Or
so it will focus on nose to tail. It will pretty much start from the head and end with the tail. So we will be showing things like prosciutto. We may even we're going to try and break it up. So, for instance, we might do something with the kidneys. We may devil some kidneys, perhaps, or we may even show how to butterfly the fillet and stuff it with something and tie it. So making some fancy butcher's cuts and
amazing, cool.
Sort of joints and things like that. And so we haven't completely sort of bottomed out everything we're going to do, but it's going to be a day sort of interspersed. So there'll be theory, there'll be predominantly practical. We'll be showing people how to cure bacon on it, how to take the ribs off, how to prepare ribs. We might even because I like barbecue, I might show people how to do ribs, how to show them
Awesome.
baby back ribs, show them St. Louis style cut, square cut ribs,
Amazing.
etc. So we'll
Right,
show them.
where do we sign
guys.
up? Where
Yeah.
do we sign up?
We'll keep an eye on that space, definitely.
Yeah, indeed, and I'll be posting information on the blog and on the website as we get
Cool.
closer to that. But
Cool.
yeah, it's something that we're looking at progressing with, and we've got some fantastic farm shops local to us. We also I'm also chairman of MK Food Fest, which is a food festival in Great Linford, in Linford Manor Park. It's an open air food festival in September.
Oh, amazing.
We're running it in September the 16th, 2017. The last one was this September just gone, and we had over I think it was about 2,500 people there throughout the day. I think it's going to increase and get bigger as time goes by. But we're looking at having 50 different food stalls, 10 hot food, and the rest farmers market and local producers, all from within 20 miles of Milton Keynes.
Amazing.
So,
Cool.
yeah, it's a big thing, and it's something that is.
Yeah, I'm sure it will keep growing.
Yeah, it is, and it promotes businesses that are local to Milton Keynes, and it's all about sort of fresh and keeping it local, and people being able to secure stuff. If you taste something in Milton Keynes, it's nice that you know that you can probably go out and buy it locally without having to go miles.
Cool.
Yeah,
Amazing.
so that's something else that we're involved in too. So yeah.
We recently were. We know the ladies who run the Burnham-on-Sea Food Festival, which is another great one that started small and has grown to masses. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. That concentrates on sort of provenance in the local area and promoting local businesses, which is cool. And that's what people are interested in that now. They're interested in the journey of their food from sort of their production to their plate, from the farmers, from the crops. They're interested in where food comes from now and the story behind it. So it'd be great to see you growing that into even as it is now, and then seeing how it goes in the future.
We've seen such an interest, and I think you're absolutely right. More and more people now are taking an active interest in the way food is produced and how it does end up on on our plates. And I think we're seeing it more now because of the growth of social media as well. Because if you'd have asked someone 10 years ago what a food blogger was, I don't think they would have had a clue.
No.
But nowadays, these people that are interested in food have got a platform, and they've got means of getting out there and pushing their message, and it's seen by more and more people. Plus, if you've only got to look at the television. If you look at a breakdown of a week's television, there's you've got
so many
MasterChef, the
foodie
Professionals.
programs. Yeah,
there's so many food programs on nowadays, and yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one of my colleagues won that. He was a firefighter from North London. I forget his name now, but he ended up winning it.
Amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, 2 firefighters. They did really well. I think that was the first series when it came to the UK. But that just serves to prove a point, doesn't it? There are so many food programs on the telly now, and a lot of these programs are focusing on fresh produce, local ingredients,
exactly.
And ethical supply, and I think that's really, really important. It's really important for people to know where their food comes from. I think that's
definitely,
and that's really what's driven the popularity of the courses that I run. Really, I mean, people not only do they want to know where their foods come from, they want to know how they can produce it themselves.
So they can visit their local farmer and pick up an amazing cut of meat, and then they can take it home and cure it, smoke it, dry it, etc., and develop it into something else, and then get it on the plate and eat it and enjoy it, share it with others.
Yeah,
that's the beauty of it.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, on our meat curing course, we always stand by what we produce. So if we're telling people we're making pancetta for lunch, we give them pea and pancetta soup, and it's the smoked pancetta that we made on the previous course.
Amazing.
So we do try and keep it in the family, so to speak.
Cool.
It's
Awesome.
kind of standing by your products and your methods as well. And when people can see that and they can taste it, then it sort of cements the learning for them as well.
Definitely.
So I do get a lot of emails from people who've been on the courses, and I always say this to people whenever they come on one of my courses, or if ever they buy a book from me, they want to know something that they're doing with their food. They want to check if it's okay or right or correct, or they've got their method right. Then just drop me an email. I normally reply within 24 hours.
Cool. That's a great shout, guys. A great offer. You're going to have to be bombarded, so get emailing it, guys. Any questions you've got.
Yeah, but I'm going away to Mexico on the 2nd of January for 2 weeks.
Better get your request in quick. Better keep you busy before you go then.
Yeah. You don't have to take any books on holiday. You can respond to emails. We are literally at the hour mark, but I just want to quickly touch on, you're going to be offering also a sort of an Eastern sort of Europe sort of barbecue course as well.
Yeah, I grew up with this style of barbecue, so making kofta, really interesting cuts of lamb skewers, lamb shish kebab, making good pilau rice, and using. The whole course is really about how to set up a barbecue. It's the technique for cooking on the barbecue, and certainly not overcooking, but getting it dead right. I mean, we make things like kofta. There's a very good technique for making kofta where you don't need to use things like egg to bind it. So, and it's simple little tricks and tips and hints and guidance for people to be able to make a fantastic Eastern Mediterranean barbecue. And it's an afternoon course, so there'll be about an hour and a half's worth of prep, half an hour's worth of cooking, and about an hour and a half's worth of eating afterwards.
Amazing. And then they'll be able to go home and do a Eastern Mediterranean barbecue for their friends.
We'll be making
family.
a salad. We'll be making pilau rice. We'll also be preparing the lamb skewers and also the kofta.
Amazing.
And that's the sort of thing that we're looking at doing, and that's likely to go on the website, ready for around about May, June time.
Cool. Sounds good.
Perfect.
Sounds good. Well, we are over the hour mark now, so I am going to say thank you very, very much, Turan, for coming on the show. I really enjoyed having you on and really learnt loads, and we could probably talk for another hour easily.
Yeah. I've still got a list of other things to talk about, so we'll have to get you back on another day, I think.
I didn't even look at that list, I'm afraid. Sorry.
Yeah, we're only halfway through our list.
Sorry. I just got so into it, I was just chatting away. So anyway, that was fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me on the show. It's been a pleasure chatting with you about food, and we'll just like to wish you a very Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much, and to you too. Before you go, could you just run through where people could find you if they want to basically hook up, they want to read your blog, they want to come on websites and stuff like that, social media?
Yep, okay, so we are on Twitter @Cold Smoking. We are on Facebook, Cold Smoking. We are on the web, www.coldsmoking.co.uk, and all the links and contacts are on the website. If anyone wants to get in contact with me, that's absolutely fine.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you very much, Turan. Merry Christmas, and
pleasure, guys.
Lots of love. Catch you in a bit. See you soon.
Nice one. Cheers. Thanks. Bye now. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. We've recorded yet another awesome podcast to get you over hump day. As always, we're brought to you by ProQ, Barbecue Gourmet, Commando Joe, and Smoke with Shaq, our epic sponsors. ProQ is dedicated to providing with quality smoking products with top-notch service and free advice for beginners to pit masters, and you can find them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram under ProQ Smokers. So if you think about buying your first smoker, wanting to upgrade, or looking for some charcoal cabinet smokers, check them out over at Max Barbecue. Barbecue Gourmet is devoted to promoting real barbecue and supplying the UK and Europe with top championship-winning barbecue rubs, sauces, marinades, and accessories from the US and around the world. And you can find them on Twitter and online under Barbecue Gourmet. So regardless of how you cook, whether it's on charcoal, wood, gas, or electric, the real taste barbecue can be yours all around. Dan is awesome. Commander Joe is renowned for build quality and innovation, from smoking, roasting, and searing. Commander Joe is a premium ceramic grill chosen by Michelin star chefs and barbecue enthusiasts alike. Get the great barbecue taste and keep the moisture locked in. Check out commandojoe.co.uk, plus Facebook and Twitter. Smoke with Shaq delivers quality smoking wood every time. They provide the smoking goodness, you provide the talent. So if you're looking for smoking wood dust, chunks, chips, or planks, then head on over to smokewithshaq.com, and you can find them on Twitter @smokewithshaq. And
it's weird that you say yourself is awesome is a bit weird because no one else has said that.
Dan is awesome. Right, and goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me, and I'm the best cook, so press stop. Just press that stop just there. That's it.
I'm just stopping it now. I'm the best cook.